Animal. Well, yesterday, Animal went in for his 4th surgery. Animal has feline tooth resorption, and yesterday he got another top canine removed. I believe this time it was his right tooth. I haven't had a look at his mouth yet. Because he got home. Actually, we got home I think about maybe 5:30 yesterday, and at the moment it's about 1:45 in the afternoon next day. So he's still recovering. I think probably his pain medications are starting to wear off, so he just wants to sleep off everything. He is eating fine because he didn't get to eat for about 24 hours, which is usual when he has to go in for surgery. They usually say bring him in, around 8:30 in the morning, nothing to eat after 8 p.m. the night before. So that's about almost 12 hours where he didn't get to eat, and then, he doesn't come home till late afternoon. So we actually picked him up about 4:15 in the afternoon, maybe spent 20 minutes with the vet doing aftercare, and just he was being a bit painful because he always comes out a little bit loopy, and I don't know, like a completely different cat after he finishes his surgery. It must be the pain medications, probably some opioids, because he was on opioids the first time he had some teeth extracted. And he was just a nightmare, like a drunken sailor, ready to fight everyone. Which Animal, he's one of those cats where you could probably pick him up and swing him around by his tail, and he'd be like, oh, well, I don't like this, but you know what? I know it's going to finish, so I'm cool. But when he's on those medications, and every time I go, I always kind of say, please no opioids, because he just turned into an absolute nightmare. But this time he actually didn't get to come home with any pain medications. So normally he gets Medicam, I think it's called. So that's an anti-inflammatory, anti-pain little droplets that we put in his mouth, or you can put in his food. I normally just put it straight into his mouth, and then he has something to eat. But this time we didn't get sent home with any, and he's actually quite comfortable. Like, cats do pretty much hide when they're feeling sick or when they're feeling pain. And so I know he's probably uncomfortable. I know he's got stitches in his mouth right now where his tooth used to be. He's had some pretty wild dreams this morning. Like, we've been hanging out together pretty much all day. Like, I've been watching some YouTube videos and that, just so I can keep an eye on him. I've got another few days off work just so I can make sure he's okay. He goes back for a checkup. Today's Thursday, so he goes back for a 3-day checkup on Saturday. So they can just kind of have a look and make sure his stitches are okay. And he's a very strong little guy. I'm very proud of him. He knows generally this seems to happen once a year. Last year he had surgery around the same time for his his top canine got taken out. So we do have, that's his little locket with his 2 canines in. He's got a garnet and a black diamond and some fur. So the one that got taken out yesterday is the canine that's on the left. And I had no idea that some of the bottom had actually chipped off. But apparently it had. And the one that's on the right, that got taken out last year. Luckily, I bought this locket specifically off Etsy, that the measurements work, because the canines on cats are actually quite big. So now I've got both of those in there. So I didn't have to buy another one, thank goodness. And There was a threat that two of his, I think they were his upper, I'm trying to remember, his upper right, so his upper right molars were looking a bit aggravated as well. Like his gums were a bit red. But before they go in to remove any teeth, they do give him a bit of a brush, a bit of a clean. And that's always a good idea because it kind of gives the vet a better idea of what's actually irritated. And of course, they do the x-rays, which we had to look at. Um, so after they cleaned up his mouth a bit, his gums pretty much, they looked a lot happier. And x-rays showed that, look, there wasn't anything getting eaten away just yet, but we'd probably have to come back in another 6 months time and just have a look, which I tend to do. I noticed that, with his solid foods, with his hard kibble, if he starts to hesitate a bit, like if he doesn't pretty much eat the whole helping within maybe 2 hours, and he comes back, numerous times throughout the night, I kind of know something's coming with his mouth. Like I know something's brewing there, and his teeth aren't doing too well. So that's a good indicator. With my last video that I posted last year, I had a lady asking me, how do I know when it's time to take him to the vet and get a look at? Well, with feline tooth resorption, it's probably, it's common sense. The main thing is, if your cat starts kind of becoming hesitant to eat, whether or not it's the hard kibble or the soft food. Now, I don't give animal soft cat food. I actually give him pet mints. So, like, we live in Australia, so Animal absolutely loves kangaroo pet mints, so I'll generally go and get that. There's also a beef one that I get that's in individual servings, and that's a little bit easier to measure out and give it to him because it's already prepackaged. I just open the package and put it in his bowl. Where the kangaroo one, I have to divide it up and make sure, I weigh it and make sure it's all the same. Because as you can see, Animal is a little bit plump, and the vet always makes sure to remind me about that. So pretty much first things first, if you notice your cat isn't eating regularly, or it's kind of hesitating to eat, or it's having issues, like cats don't really chew. I was told this a long time ago, and if you actually watch your cat eat, they don't. Like, you may hear like chewing sounds, but that's pretty much just like the kibble kind of clicking together. They may put their teeth down on it a bit, but pretty much cats just swallow their kibble and their food whole. Like, if your cat ever, I know Animal sometimes does it, if he gets really excited over his dinner, he'll eat too fast. And if that happens, he will probably a couple minutes later puke. And he pukes. And if your cat ever does that, you'll notice like the kibbles come out whole. It's not like they're broken up. So, I mean, the teeth are really just like if they're eating meat, if they're catching their own prey and just being able to rip the meat off, the carcass and get it off the bone. That's really the only time they use their teeth, but they don't really use their teeth to chew. So, I mean, I get asked a lot of the times, I mean, what's Animal gonna do when he doesn't have any teeth anymore? Well, you know what? He's gonna be just fine. I might have to probably at one point in time, because I think right now Animal has, I know he's got two back molars. I think he's got one on the bottom. I don't think he's got anything on his right side. He's got his two bottom canines and two incisors. So what's that? About, gosh, maybe 7 teeth left. Out what do cats have? I think adult cats have about 30 teeth. So there's probably going to be maybe one point in time when he gets a bit older, I might have to soak his food in a bit of water. They do have a pet bone broth that they do sell in Australia. So, I could do that. He loves that. If I put it into his like pet mints, he used to love that. We haven't seen it in the grocery stores for a while, but they are still making it. You generally have to just, order it from their website. But or his pet mints is a little bit more expensive than his Royal Canin food that we get. But look, that's okay. He gets his pet mints once every other night for dinner. And right now, after his surgery, because they say no hard foods, no solid foods, he has to have the soft stuff. He's gonna have it probably for the next 5 or 6 days, morning and night. So, and he's happy with that when he finally wakes up. Um, so back to some other signs. One thing I noticed with animal, which is very interesting, and I did bring it up to the vet, whenever animals' teeth are pretty much like when it's, almost like crucial breaking point when it's time to extract them, like now. I notice in animals' eyes, like where you would normally, get like the like crispy bits that cats sometimes get. He gets eye boogers. I call it eye boogers because it honestly just looks like a ball of snot, and that actually sometimes kind of gets curled up underneath of his eyelid, on his bottom eyelid as well. So if I pull it out, it's just like this big gooey glob, and it's generally clear. But if there's crispy bits, there'll be pieces of that in it as well. And I will notice that will become really predominant in both eyes, and I'll be cleaning it out daily. Now, this time he didn't get that because that's generally what I look at the most. He maybe this time around he got it maybe once every 2 weeks or so. I'd have to pull one out, or I'd see something, dangling from his eye. But it wasn't like, in previous times where he had to go get eyes, his teeth pulled out. So that could be something else to look out for, because the nose and the mouth and the eyes, they're all connected. So if something's having a hard time, or if something's rotting, or if there's an issue, they can be tied together, and an inflammation and just a reaction to the body's process of dealing with that. So keep an eye out for the eyes. Of course, definitely keep an eye out for eating habits. I get told like animal, his personality doesn't change, but they can get very agitated. Apparently they do paw at the mouth, so that's a pretty pretty good signal that look, there's something wrong. Their breath also changes. Like animal yawns in my face all the time, or I'm just too close to him. I don't know, because I absolutely adore him. He is so gorgeous, as you can see. And if he yawns in my face and I'm like, oh, that's not cat breath, that's something else, that's another sign, because obviously that's, the smell of his teeth actually rotting or getting broken down, which is what's going on. So, smell that. And you know what? Animal doesn't always look it like it. The vet's like, oh, maybe try to clean his teeth, get like a wet Q-tip, cotton bud, and rub it around and get the plaque off it. That helps. I used to brush his teeth when he was younger because, we actually thought that might help, but it does. Look, it does. It probably helps a little bit more than not doing anything. But if your cat actually lets you touch their mouth and have a look inside, like even if you just kind of, rub your finger, up here and like lift up the cheek a bit. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to, irritate anything that he's got going on. But if your cat just kind of lets you like lift up his cheek, or, put your finger in, try and have a look. Or if they're yawn, maybe have a look at the teeth then as well. That's a good time. That's generally when I would. I get curious, every now and then I'll have a look, because I know with animal I need to have a look for his mouth and make sure that, everything's going okay. But, it is hard, because I know it's hard for him, and I know right now he's probably really uncomfortable. like I said, he's still eating. He's doing really well, and like he's a really great little guy. He's a really tough guy. He's small and he's tiny and he squeaks when he meows, but you know, he's really tough when he needs to be. And right now, he's probably doing a lot better than I ever would. Like in my life, I've only ever had one wisdom tooth pulled out, and you know, I didn't have any problems with it. But you know, animal, gosh, how many teeth has he had pulled now? You know, I can't even remember. Like I said, it's his fourth surgery. And the past two surgeries have been like major teeth. His two top canines, they're gone now. So he's actually doing really well. But unfortunately, like with feline tooth resorption, it is an autoimmune disease, from you know what I can find, what I've been told. It's something obviously that the body reacts to. It may be the saliva, it may just be the body, you know, trying to fight something off, the body just attacking the mouth for no reason. You know, they're still not 100% on what causes it and how to, you know, make it stop or how to prevent it. But I think the main thing is all you can really do is just monitor your cat. If you have any, you know, inklings that, you know, something might not be right, definitely take your cat to the vet as soon as you can. And, you know, I mean, every cat's different and some are going to react better than others. And Animal pretty much was up all night. It's, you know, the end of summertime here in Australia now in February, and he was up all night chasing grasshoppers and looking out the door because we do have a cat, a female, of course, that does come around and, you know, sometimes in the middle of the night. So I think, you know, sometimes he stays up waiting for her just to say hello. So he was up, and then right at 7 o'clock in the morning, he finally comes to bed. And, you know, we had breakfast, and he's had a little bit of a snack, so he's doing quite well. But, you know, your cat obviously may be angry. I mean, he was a bit angry on the way home. We were in the car for over an hour because we got stuck in traffic. And then, being Sydney, of course, if you think you know where you're going, you probably don't. And of course, everyone's in a rush to get nowhere, so we missed our exit where I wanted to go and ended up going back to the city on the freeway, and that was fun. And yesterday was a hot day too. Luckily, my car has good air conditioning, but yeah. But I mean, just keep a close eye on your cat. Animal is 7 years old now. We've been together, you know, since he was 10 months old. So I'm quite aware of his behavior, how he acts. If you are as well, I mean, this can pretty much happen at any age. I think we noticed Animal was having issues. Like, as soon as I adopted Animal, I took him straight to my vet and he got checked out. And I think even then, you know, he would have been probably close to 11, 12 months old. They already picked up that something might not be right. So I would always recommend yearly vet visits, especially for things like this. My goodness, make up your mind. I think he just wants to go to sleep. Oops. So, all the best if your cat has the same issue, the feline tooth resorption. Look, you're not the only one. I had actually never heard of it until I met Animal. My last cat, Biscuit, I mentioned in the last video, her lower, I think it was her lower right canine. I still have it. One day it just became wobbly, and I noticed she wasn't closing her mouth properly. And we never actually worked out how that happened. Like, by the time it got pulled out, it was rotten on the root end, and the vet at the time just said, look, I put her under, gave her mouth clean, and the tooth I just pulled it out. Like, he didn't have to do any surgery. So but you know, obviously that wasn't feline tooth resorption. She probably bit down on something that she shouldn't have, or she ran into the wall. It's hard to say. She was an indoor cat, so it's hard to say what happened. But you know, I'd never heard of the disease until I'd met Animal, and you know, my vet inform me about it. And I mean, there's lots of YouTube videos, there's lots of information online, if you are curious. So, but it's, I wouldn't say it's very common from what I can see. I wouldn't say it's like, you're going to go to a cat shelter or anywhere like that, like where animal came from. Gosh, there would have been probably about 30 cats in there for adoption, kittens and everything. And I'd say probably, animal being 1 out of 30, maybe 1 or 2 other cats would probably have it. So it's not really something you're gonna be like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, worry about it. Obviously, if you do have a pet or a cat, a dog, anything, vets aren't always cheap. You can get insurance. Animal is on a plan through his vet called Healthy Pets Plus. So he gets discounts on teeth cleaning, gets free vaccinations, nail trims. He gets discounts on like flea and tick medication, discounts on food. So instead of going through insurance, we just use that. And, it is a vet chain in Australia called Green Cross. And they're great. I love them. There's a vet, like, pretty much just across the street from me. They're good as well. Like, they're good for emergencies. But, Green Cross, they've really looked after my 2 cats that I've had. An animal, is quite a celebrity there, obviously because the name. But I would say probably the best advice I can give anyone who does have a pet is just monitor their behaviors, like get to know them. And it doesn't take long to get to know, your pet's personalities and that, but definitely get to know them and keep an eye on if anything changes, definitely notify the vet and maybe go for a trip.